Hey, it's Myles here at Tackle Hyve, and it's another week, it's another Monday, so that means we're going to be focusing on how to shoot a pistol accurately. And so we're now on, I think this would make it week 7, or maybe we wrapped up week 7, I don't know. We've already covered a lot of videos. For those of you just tuning in, we've listed all the videos below, and this series is all about taking a beginner shooter and teaching them how to shoot accurately. So we've covered a lot so far, and typically today we're going to start something new, go over the dry fire, and then on Thursday we go over live fire exercises. But since we've covered so much material, what I want to do is give you an overview, a recap of everything. Now, we're not going to dive into every little thing because you can watch all of the videos below in the description. You can circle back and get all the details. But this will serve as a good reminder for everyone, kind of gel everything together. So I'm going to be covering the most important parts, and then you can dive into, once again, the details of these other videos. For those of you who are just joining us, everything, as I mentioned, is below, and you could come back to this video for a recap. This will be helpful after you watch all the videos. So if you guys do want to recap and maybe a few more details, make sure you stay tuned to this video. All right, so there was a lot of material that we covered throughout the previous weeks thus far. And before I dive into this, I do want to, because there's a lot of comments talking about they would do this technique this way or that technique that way. If you've noticed that a lot of the things that I'm sharing, I'm trying to stay away from technique. Although there are some techniques that I'm sharing with you, it's because technique is a matter of style. Everyone's going to be a little different. So remember, this series is about getting a beginner shooter to take single shots accurately. There's a lot of things that when it comes to marksmanship and learning how to shoot and taking rapid fire shots, there's a lot of things that we're covering, but we're starting off small, and there are a lot of different techniques. So this is one way to do this, and this is the most efficient and effective way that I've seen to teach beginners. As beginners get more experience and as you build confidence, that's when you begin to add more tools to your toolbox. So what we're covering in this series is not the end-all be-all. There's lots of different ways to approach things, okay? And when I cover certain techniques, for those of you who are used to one way of doing things, the way I have set this up is that a lot of what I'm covering, if you open your mind a little bit and kind of tweak things a little bit, you'll see that it actually can fit into what you probably already do. I'm not saying 100%, but that's what we're trying to do with this series. We're trying to take things that could gel or you can mold it into what you're currently doing, okay? So now that that's out of the way, what we talked about in the previous weeks was really the crux of everything started from this compressed ready position. Okay, lots of different ways people can come up here, people come here, people can go down there. We're starting from here. And when we talked about starting off, the whole idea was to be able to, from this compressed ready position, pushing out, presenting our firearm, prepping the trigger. Okay, that means getting to the wall, taking up all the slack, and being ready to take a shot once our arms are extended. So we don't want to extend and then wait here and then break a shot. So right now I have a dry pistol, okay, so nothing in the mag well, nothing in the chamber here. And the idea here was I want to prep, break the shot, and then reset and prep. Okay, so if you don't remember all that stuff, the videos are there for reference, but I want to break the shot and I do not want to pin the trigger to the rear. So we essentially start off with just pushing out, prepping the trigger, breaking the shot, reset and prep, okay? We do the reset and prep to ensure that we are ready to take another shot, okay? Even though this series right now is just focusing on one shot, we're going to graduate to take more than one shot, okay? We didn't talk about grip, okay? Grip is going to come later. Right now, when we are dealing with just one accurate shot, we don't have to focus on grip so much. It just needs to be steady, but firm grip, all the techniques, stuff like that, we don't have to worry too much yet, okay? After this, we talked about some things such as managing momentum, okay? And I'm not necessarily going in order, I'm just gonna be talking about the wave tops here. We talked about how when pushing out your pistol, you don't want to cause disruption of your sights, okay? What I mean by that is, remember what I just said, when we push out, we want to take our shot as soon as our sights are on target. We want to take that shot, be ready. But if we're trying to do that and our gun is shaking at the end, that is going to force us to wait, a second or two or however long it takes for us to have our sights or a red dot steady, and then you'll break the shot. So you want to be able to ensure that you're managing the momentum. So as you push out, you can move fast, but at the last 10%, right before you get to what you want to hit, you want to take your foot off the gas. Notice I did not say stop or put on the brakes. You literally just want to take your foot off the gas and let it glide into place so that you have a higher chance of your sights not overshooting or undershooting or causing any disruption once you're on the target. So managing momentum was part of being able to shoot sooner or faster, because you'll be able to shoot faster or sooner if you're not shaky at the very end. Another thing we covered when being able to shoot faster and sooner is to ensure that your sights are going to be aligned right when you're here, or that your red dot is going to be right where you're looking at when you present from here. Now, if it sounds foreign, if you're new to this video, again, watch I think it's part 1 or part 2 of how to aim and shoot faster. That's below, okay? And the idea was, once you're here, you lock your wrists so that when you present, everything is going to be aligned. And the way we work it is in reverse, right? You start off with your red dot or your iron sights on target, lock your wrists, just bring your elbow in, and then technically speaking, if you present, they should be lined up exactly where you were originally, right? So combine that with managing momentum. When you push out your gun, you should already be there, ready to go and break the shot, okay, with a prep trigger. Next, we covered a little bit about trigger control principles, understanding that a lot of people miss because they don't know how to really isolate their trigger finger. So we worked on exercises with that, trying to, even without a gun, just trying to move our trigger finger from the second knuckle and trying to overcome sympathetic movement. Sympathetic movement is moving your 3 amigos, or these fingers, when you pull the trigger. So we did dry fire and live fire exercises, and I'll link up to that video somewhere here so that you guys can watch it, and it also is below. So trigger control principles was something that we worked on, and the whole idea is that everything looks the same, like all of these reps look the same from week 1, but now when you're working on trigger control, you are hyper-focused on what your finger is doing, your trigger finger, rather than everything else, right? So we worked on that. Then we talked about dealing with unstable sights, right? So some of you, even though you have everything correct, you still might be shaky and you might not have accurate shots because you don't have a stable platform yet. If you follow the series and you don't remember, I'll leave a link to that video above, but just to give you the Cliff Notes version, even if you have movement, you can induce that movement yourself by doing the figure 8 drill. You can change the speed, you can change the amount of movement, but it's simulating what you would notice, like you actually have a shake. And if you do the dry fire drills and the live fire drills, you know how to manage that movement with your sights or your red dots. So it shouldn't be an issue here. Of course, practice is needed, but now you have a foundation on what to do to kind of overcome that. We then covered the very popular subject of anticipation, and we discussed the difference between recoil anticipation and shot anticipation and how that really affects people here, in the sense that a lot of people, they might be nervous with the bang. A lot of it is just mental. But actually, I would say that it is all mental, where people are moving their pistol before breaking the shot, okay? So they think they're going to break the shot first, but they're actually moving and then the shot breaks, okay? And so we share dry fire exercises as well as live fire exercises to overcome that. And I'll leave a link to that above as well, or below, so that you can watch that video. And then we ended up with, before this particular video, we ended up talking about what your hands should do, or what you should do after your draw and marrying your hands. Just this fact here. And it's not the draw technique, because everyone's gonna have a little different draw technique. It was more about what you do once the gun is out and then meet your hands together, because this is going to tie into everything we did in the previous weeks. Remember, everything is starting from here in this series, right? So if we want to get to here, we have to have a good draw, meet our hands, and then everything should just fall into place very easily. Then you should be able to shoot accurately and consistently. So with all of that in mind, we don't necessarily need to add more stuff, right, for you to dry fire. Now it's a recap of everything, right? So you technically could go back to week 1 and go over all the dry fire exercises together. What I would do, and this is going to be highly dependent on where you are and what your understanding of the previous weeks are, okay? So don't take this as a one, black and white, because I just don't know where you are yet, right? But I would do everything just from this position as we've been doing, and the whole idea here is I'm going to start working on speed. Okay, what I mean by that is it doesn't necessarily have to be super fast, so let me backtrack there. When I say that is I need to work on getting my shot off as soon as it's on target. So I'm gonna exaggerate the incorrect way. I would not wanna do this. Now the shot broke. I would be working on prepping my trigger on the way, and as soon as my sights are on target, I break the shot and I reset and prep. Okay, the idea here is I'm going to be hyper focused. If you really paid attention and really practice along with this series, a lot of this should now be a little bit more familiar and possibly in your subconscious now. You're doing these movements automatically. So you don't have to break down every little step anymore. What you should do though is as I'm presenting out, I'm prepping my trigger, looking at what I want to hit. My sights are overlaid, break the shot, and I am paying attention to whether or not there's any type of movement in my sights or a red dot when I break that shot. If there is, then I got work to do. But if you followed everything in this series, the idea here is I'm pushing out, prep my trigger, break the shot, there should be no movement. And I stay here for a good follow through, then I do it again. This is what I would be working on in dry fire right now, okay? Now, adding from the previous week, you could also add whatever draw technique you know, okay, which we'll cover eventually. I would then add it, do your draw from wherever you're drawing, meet your hands, then everything is the same, okay? So meet your hands, everything's the same. So if I was doing it here, I'll do this slow here, I'm going to do this, get my draw, and then everything else is the same. Okay, so you can start adding that into your dry fire practice. And this allows you to give more time for everything to gel together. All right, so that's the dry fire exercise and recap for today. So I don't want to add more in. And notice how the dry fire exercise is extremely simple, because now if you followed along and did the dry fire exercise from the previous weeks, a lot of that should kind of be ingrained. And if not, use those dry fire techniques first and then come back to this, just kind of combining everything. Well, there you guys go. That's a recap of the previous weeks. On Thursday, we're going to do less of a recap and just go over some dry or live fire drills that you can use that's going to help things gel from the previous weeks. If you guys like this video and the series, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. And as always, please comment, let us know what you want to see. If there's anything that you have, any questions you have, please leave it in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. See you guys next week.